Okay. I believe I am live, but the time is delayed very significantly. So give me a second to just adjust and get my bearings together. We do have 9 minutes until we begin. Okay, I know what to do. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. All right, so right now I'm beginning without a moderator. And because of that, I am going to be working 2 monitors at the same time. And I'm going to have to turn down my own sound from the stream that is headed your way on YouTube, that again is delayed. So again, just give me a second to get my bearings straight, and then we will dive in. Okay, people? And please join me. Join me, join me, join me. Let people know that I am live. Oh, okay, so I can stop the play on YouTube. Ooh, let me just play it just to make sure. All right, and there is live chat. So I'm going to say something so that you know that I am super duper for real, for show, for no, for show. I am for real, FR live. Let's see. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you won't miss any of my live sessions. This particular format is for the 52-week series on how to implement a more perfect union. There will also be Evolve weekly sessions dedicated to other topics as well. It is all grouped in Evolve Weekly. However, I've created a playlist specifically for the 52-week series on how to implement a more perfect union. All right. So I'm going to turn this down. I'll be able to see your chats going. All right. I will not necessarily be able to hear you in its real time, but there's about, I'd say, a 2-minute delay. And you all may be very familiar with this. Those of you who have already subscribed to other channels that go live. So just keep that in mind, that I will be looking for your comments and your questions and your input, because, and I want to stress input as it relates to comments, because oftentimes we think that, comments are just going to be some type of affirmative to what I'm saying, like a thumbs up or yes, I agree. But I also want to share your input during this feed as well. If you're interested in being featured on one of our Evolve weekly sessions, please do contact me at evolve@ctigressrun.com. Again, that's just simply evolve@ctigressrun.com. All right, so give me one more second here. And please, if you're joining me, please let me know that you're here. I am like super duper, 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 duper psyched. I need to make sure that I delete. Let's see, hold on. I need to make sure that I delete the video or the link that shows for the scheduled 4 o'clock, because I haven't quite figured out just yet how to merge those two. Just give me a second, I'll figure that out. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and delete it so there is no confusion. Of course, most of you all are so brilliant. When you come to the channel and you see that there's nothing there, you'll see that I am live. YouTube should give you a notification. I'm also going to put a notification on Facebook right now. And I'm going to give you the new link, as a matter of fact. I believe we can do that. Let's see. And thankfully, I can just go in and change this here. And we'll hope that is correct. Let's hope. Okay. Let me see if it brings me to me. Yep, it does. So there we go. That was a quick fix. Let me erase. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go into editing my videos at this very moment because I don't want to close anything inadvertently, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay, I think that worked because I'm still live. All right, we got 2 minutes before we begin. Playlist, content, live. Yep, it's showing that I'm live right now. So I'm going to delete this one. First, I'm going to grab the title. We're learning all types of wonderful skill sets today. It's very exciting. I hope you appreciate my efforts. Oh, this is very, very useful. It allows me to edit in real time while I'm broadcasting live. I find no faults here, no flaws, no flaws. All right, here we go. Okay, and delete this one. Let's make it private just in case. I've learned my lesson before. Okay, so then I gotta get back to it. I want to be able to communicate with you. Okay, here we go. All right, boom, 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 boom. Got the live chat going. I can see it. I've got me up. I'm gonna move it over. All righty. Okay, and all right, it is 4 o'clock promptly. It is time to get started. So if you are new here, welcome. If you are not, thank you for returning. I begin each time with an affirmation. May I further enlarge our collective and individual understanding and enlightenment on the matters we will discuss. And may I not instead cause further division, prejudice, disinformation, nor confusion. All right, here we go. So, there's a lot that will be discussed today. I'm going to go over my, let's just go over there. Let's just do it now, because we're going to go over the topics that we will be discussing today, which are how many Democrats serve in Virginia Legislature, 15 more legislators in Washington, D.C., the Preamble and the Bill of Rights, and we're going to do a bit of a caveat, even though it is not, it's related, it's definitely related, but maybe just a broader review of some relevant matters that are important to the Preamble and the Bill of Rights, especially as it relates to the case that I shared with you all some weeks back regarding the 3/5 human clause or 3/5 delegate accounting clause. Remember, there was debate as to whether or not that 3/5 clause in the Constitution was to be interpreted as it relates to whether or not slaves were considered human or citizens. More specifically, were they considered human, citizens, or alternatively and negatively chattel or property, right? All right, and that case is Dred Scott versus Sanford, back in the mid 1800s. And that was a very tumultuous time, as we know. And the decision in that case had a great impact on the immediate political tensions and the literal tensions between diasporan African slaves who were seeking freedom, of course, spearheaded for his own freedom by Frederick Douglass, and then later became a launch pad for the ratification of the 14th Amendment, which effectually overturned the decision in the Dred Scott case. All right, so then we're going to briefly discuss how to draft a bill and those training and workshops that I told you that I would briefly review for you and provide some resources should you have an interest in preparedness on drafting a bill and lobbying for that bill, okay? And even as it relates specifically to lobbying for ratification of amendments. This is a wonderful example of how the Constitution and our federal legislative body of law, if you will, the statutory law, and some will refer to it more specifically as constitutional law. This is how this can be changed through amendments. This is another way that we can implement a more perfect union. And the theory of the more perfect union, for those of you who are new and may not be as familiar, of course, this is also rooted in the Constitution. They normally consider the Constitution after the ratification of the 14th Amendment to be the modernized Constitution. And so we will use the term antiquated. I think it's quite appropriate for any time periods material to the Constitution before that, okay? So we'll say antiquated period versus the modernized period. And the point I'm making is that if it could be changed then, and especially considering the political climate at that time, which we can debate and argue is very similar in some regards to the political climate today, even though it was a lot more just keep this in mind. We did not have, and those, when I say we, those of diasporan descent, we did not have any rights to citizenship during that period. We do now. And again, I'm with you. We can definitely argue the fact that it's, it's just as bad now, but let's be literal here. Literally, it's not just as bad now as it was then. There is lots that needs to be handled today. And I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that everything is peachy keen today. But I'm saying that literally to be enslaved, or, I'm literally in my own home, and I've exercised certain rights to be in this home, and we're chilling and I'm on YouTube. So we can say that there is a literal difference, okay? All right, so this is another thing. So if you're joining me, we have certain assumptions. Please understand that I am both scientist and economist, and so that makes me an academic. Okay, all right. But I am a level-headed academic who hasn't lost touch with reality. So although I am a PhD candidate in energy and environmental systems and economics, again, I still know that I am just like everybody else, and I have absolutely no viewpoint that I am somehow better. And I strongly assert the same. I am on par with you all. If anything, some individuals, they say, well, no, Tigress, you have so much more wealth of knowledge. You know where I got this knowledge from? Books. These books are available to everybody, not just me. And these books are available to everybody, especially now in this day and age. They're not just academic books that you would get and only have privy to, and only be able to somehow have privy to order through enrollment through in an institution, of higher learning. That's not the case. These books are available to you. And I'm not talking about just random books by, and it could be very, very good intention-driven authors who do have a wealth of knowledge themselves. Maybe they have expressed knowledge because they were family members of some of the figures that we will discuss in history, or maybe they were just well learned on their own, spent a lot of time at the library. I would suggest that you read all of the text as much as you possibly can from different genres, so that you can piece it together and you can learn to divide yourself right from wrong, truth from what is this? Right. From BS. Okay. I also know I'm not much for mincing words. You will hear some profanity. It won't be vulgarity. We're not doing that. But you may hear some frank words. So be prepared. This is who I am. I do not code switch. I have not ever code switched. And for those of you who are watching and you're not familiar with what code switch means, let me quickly explain that as well. And this is, again, since I am venturing out into the YouTube space and going live, I'm taking opportunity to try and do my absolute best, which is pretty darn good, to set certain expectations and assumptions. And that's why I first mentioned that I am an academic. In the academic term, assumption, it means a set of facts that we are all going to initially agree upon so that we can be on the same page and have great discussions that will avoid unnecessary confusion, okay? Not like assumption in the social or colloquial sense of the word, which of course we're making an ass out of you and me. No, these are assumptions like, okay, these are the base facts. These are the definitions that we go by. When Tigress says this word, this is what she intends, even though it may have double meaning or other meanings colloquially or academically, okay? All right, so with that said, there are two sides. I am a huge proponent for nonpartisan politics, okay? However, I am a registered Democrat. I have remained a Democrat for the bulk of my voting life, with the short exception about 2 years ago when I elected to change my designation to independent because I was absolutely fed up, just like everyone else, okay? I soon and quickly realized, because I'm a proponent also of ensuring that everyone knows that the laws of every state and the laws at the federal level are available to you, and they are not written in any language that you cannot comprehend. Shakespeare is arguably harder to read, much, much harder to read than statutory law. And why? Because they intend to bind you to the law. You are required to know the law. In fact, ignorance of the law is not a defense. Most of us know this. It is a real thing. And so it should be written in plain language. Yes, I know that there are lots of licensed attorneys that will give you the impression that somehow you can't understand and, read on your own and understand the law. Yes, within reason. And I mean scantily so, okay? Because otherwise this would be egregiously discriminatory. And some of us, we do hold that belief that the laws are egregiously discriminatory and that they do disenfranchise, that they do, create these classes that causes this corruption or at least perpetuates the corruption and all the confusion. What I'm getting at is that they have to be simple enough for you to read because they're holding you accountable to it. And so that means that they have to reach everyone under the notion that you are a reasonable person. So there are people who fall outside of that reasonable person standard, and those would be individuals that would normally be identified as lay persons. But you've also heard laypersons grouped to include everybody who isn't a licensed attorney or everybody who is not learned in law. Okay, so we'll go into all that stuff. These are all these kind of like definitions, if you will. If you ever have questions, and let me check over here, see if anybody's rocking with me. You're rocking with me? Okay. And just just send me anything you want to send me, any input on anything that I'm saying right now. I'm so excited to be able to come to you and have this format and have this open discussion. And I'm very, very hopeful that it will inspire, and not only just inspire, because they call me Queen Get Her Done. So we're not Queen fixing to just talk about something. Excuse me. We're not Queen we just fixing to just pray about it and that's it. They don't call me Queen Get Her Done because we just Queen getting ready to just see what we might be able to accomplish. No, I am proposing a plan. And I know that I am not the only citizen. Because I'm not the only citizen, it stands to reason that other citizens, because the Constitution is for us all, the country is for us all, the benefit of the laws and the scope of the laws and purpose of them is for the inhabitants of the land that it serves. So I can't be the only representative, hence delegates and all that stuff, right? In each state and all that jazz, right? All of our voices need to be heard. So I need your input to help develop a plan that we can then propose for implementation. Done. Okay, so what I was going to get at, other term, is with me being a huge proponent of nonpartisan politics and having expressed knowledge, thank you, mommy, thank you, daddy, having expressed knowledge of the fact that Republican history is not necessarily exclusive to racist history, okay? All right. With that being said, so what I'm saying is that, and most of you all know this, most of us in the diasporan descendants, we are familiar or have heard people talk about, maybe not at length, but we've heard them talk about how Black history includes a Republican, designation. That in the beginning, the Republican belief system was more rooted in the freedoms and liberties and rights of also Black Americans. In fact, John Bingham and the ratification of the 14th Amendment, they center around that fact, okay? So with that being said, we will discover in this journey of determining the general culture, if you will, of each state. I want to break it down to cities as well. We'll see how far we go with this discussion. I'm hoping that this takes off and we can continue this until we do have all the things in place that we have been demanding for decades, centuries. You can't even just say decades, centuries at this point, which is sad. It's disgusting, actually. It's not even sad, it's disgusting. Okay? It's embarrassing. And I'm a diasporan African woman of Haitian and Native American descent. So I look at a lot of the politicians, and that's why I've run for office and continue to run for office, because I look at these individuals and I'm sickened, I'm disgusted by their presence, the things that they allow to come out of their mouth. And this is both Caucasian representatives and African American or diasporan descendants. This is even those of Asian descent. It's just mind blowing. The watering down of fortitude on cultural expression and inalienable human rights and equity. We will discuss these things going forward, trust and believe. But so basically what we're doing is each session, we cover a state. Now we've got 50 states and we've got 52 weeks and we're week 7. So we're going to have to speed this up. But as this catches momentum, and before that specifically, I do have to take a moment in each video because I'm not sure when you're going to start, when a person is going to join, So some of you have been rocking with me and I am so appreciative. I want to say, I love you, I love you, I love you, because that lets me know that you love yourself. And that is the highest and most important form of love, period, because you can't give it if you don't know how to embrace it for yourself. And that lets me know that, well, we're excited, we're moving forward. But as individuals start to join in, they may pick up at week 8 and may not look at the other videos initially because they may want to keep in order. I don't know. Maybe they will. I'm just trying to exercise due diligence so that you know who I am for the most part in every video, as much as I possibly can squeeze in and cover the topics we need to cover on each session or in each session. Okay, so here's the other thing, because and you'll love how my mind works. The reason why I'm saying this is because my one thing is many. And people tell me all the time, I don't understand how you can pop over here and pop over here and then remember exactly where you needed to go. We all process information differently. I'm just asking that we all take advantage of how I process information now. I may not be like this at 62. I may not be like this at 65. So I say let's take advantage of this right now. And I am willing to lay all of my gifts at the feet of fellow citizens and fellow individuals who are on the right side of justice. That's a wonderful segue. So that we can get this shit together, friends. Okay. All right. So that segue is to say, here's the other assumption. Because of me being this proponent of nonpartisan politics, but then understanding that based on modern times, the Democratic viewpoint, belief system, has been generally the consensus of those of us who are on the right side of justice. And oppositely, the Republican belief system generally has been the consensus of racist America. So because of that, and although I understand there are some beautiful Black Americans who identify and beautiful Native Americans and beautiful Latinos and beautiful individuals of Asian descent, Indian descent, Native American descent. I feel like I'm forgetting something, and all the other ethnicities, Russian descent, okay. Because some of you will consider that Asia because it's Eurasia. Know your geography, folks. But anyway, and even African, like some from Nigeria, South African. Okay. There will be individuals who still yet identify as Republican. And they are those, and this pocket of people are holding on tightly to the viewpoints that would have been consistent with John Bingham and the core values presented in the 14th Amendment, which was, basically to abolish slavery and to affirm citizenship to all those born in America. Okay, we know that they're going to exist. So I can't just go around and we can't just cut off all Republicans, because even there are some Republicans who they may have more consistent ideals with the right side of justice versus the wrong side of justice. You see how I'm doing all these segues? So this assumption then is that instead of me just saying, okay, we're just going to assume all Democrats are good and all Republicans are bad, we are, however, going to use the assumption that if someone identifies as Democrat, then most likely they are on the right side of justice. And that's how we're going to go through each of the states. Now, if you have expressed knowledge, because I don't live in all the states, I've visited just about all of them, but I don't know all the politicians in all the states. I do have a pretty good wealth of knowledge of a lot of officials from each state, at least governors, mayors, attorney general, secretary of state. Those generally are going to be the extent of my knowledge of those officials in those other states. Oh, also maybe the commissioner of insurance, and other commissioners, and we're going to actually hopefully have some time because we'll discuss that. Actually, I think we may discuss it in the next meeting because this is already going to be pretty fast. Okay. And actually, we'll discuss it. Yeah, because we'll go to Kentucky next. And that way it will be relevant for Kentucky because you need to know how some of our officials behave. And they behave very poorly, very corruptly. Not all of them, as we all know, or some of us are beginning to learn to know just how terribly they conduct themselves and to what great extent they'll go to evade liability for their corruption. All right, so that means that we're going, when I say the right side of justice versus the wrong side of justice, now you know what I'm talking about, okay? And if I happen to say, well, the Democratic then you know I'm talking generally about those individuals who are on the right side of justice, but it's not a catch-all. All right. Woo! Okay, so here we go. It's always a lot. It's always a lot of fun. Hello. You're retracting. If you have something to say, please do. I'm open to all input. I do want us to be very, very respectful to one another. However, even here locally for Charlotte politics, I'm a firm believer that you have to get it out the way you need to get it out. Okay. So and let me tell you this as well, so that we have this information, so that you know my upbringing and you have an understanding of what I deem is too far. And that way, you know, so we're all on the same page and we can all effectively communicate with one another so that we can get somewhere. Because if we're just going to talk and yell at each other, we're not going to get anywhere, right? Okay. So I am from the colloquial hood. I grew up that way, but my mother and father, high school sweethearts, they married. My father he enlisted in the service in the Honorable 82nd Airborne, and they achieved a greater life for themselves. My father did succumb to alcoholism, which is the unfortunate story for a lot of our veterans. And he passed away in 2002. My mother did a wonderful job continuing to raise me. And I couldn't have asked for a better upbringing. And she is, and his initial teachings, they are the foundation for who I am today. They raised me not to believe that everybody that looks like me is for me. That basically means that not every Black person is going to be a good person to me or anyone else. Not every Black person, what we call, is going to be on code. Equally, not all Caucasian people, are my enemies. Some will be my greatest allies, and equally for all other races. Let me also tell you this. I hate the terms Black and white. They disgust me. So you will hear me often say diasporan, African, or Caucasian. You don't need to get me straight or whatever. The reason I'm doing it is because we all need to embrace and love all cultures. I do not ascribe to the theory that we're the only ones that can be kings and queens. There were kings and queens in every culture. I am just a lover of cultures, and I believe that my heritage is indicative of the same. Again, I am of Haitian descent because my dad is of Haitian descent. My mother is of Native American descent. And I identify, of course, as diasporan and Black. I was raised Black. I am Black. They were Black. There you have it. Okay. All right. So let's move forward. And if you want to put your question back in there, please do. Please do not feel that you cannot communicate with me. I am not that person. All right, so here we go. How many Democrats serve in Virginia Legislature? So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Whew. Let's see. All righty. We're going to share a screen and we're going to just hop on over to the Virginia Legislator. Now, while I'm doing this, I can't really see your questions because I've got several screens open. It's a little difficult. I am looking for moderators, but please understand that I will have to screen you because I am, not only am I just a concerned citizen and I'm people like you doing this, I am a registered politician. I'll be running for election in this upcoming cycle. So I have to be mindful about, how we handle certain things. That does not mean that I'm gonna be off code, or that doesn't mean that I'm going to be wishy-washy. No, I'm still the same person, just understand. Okay, so let's go to, and what I do is I have a habit of, I want to show you just how very simply you can look up the things that we will discuss. I don't have any necessarily express knowledge. It's available to us all. So all I did was type in Virginia Legislature. Legislature, of course, is the body of, the governing body for each state, and it also applies at the federal level. That's why you've heard the term federal legislature and North Carolina legislature, where I'm from, and on and on and on. Okay, so we've covered North Carolina and South Carolina, just so you're aware. We've also gone over the federal legislature as it relates to just kind of getting a initial understanding, initial picture of how many Democrats and how many Republicans are serving for those respective legislatures. And again, thereby, getting this snapshot of the culture. Is it more inclined to be on the right side of justice, or is it going to be more inclined to be on the wrong side of justice? Okay. And it's very, very interesting. We're going to go ahead and click on it. It's very, very interesting that I pointed this out, and I've pointed this out in every election, and I continue to point it out, that the history of our elections has been considerably equally weighted, if you will. And what I'm referring to is that the outcomes, the votes, have been nearly half Republican, nearly half Democrat. And I think that's very interesting, especially as it relates to the 14th Amendment and John Bingham, Congressman of Ohio, with some Republicans. They sought to ratify the 14th Amendment, inspired by the assertions of Frederick Douglass that he was indeed a citizen and entitled to the rights inherent thereto. Okay, so even at that point, and we even saw it with the latest vote for the impeachment, even, it was near half. The vote for the president was near half. 7 million votes, or 8 million votes, in my strong opinion, is not enough to say that America has a viewpoint that is on the right side of justice. To me, that's way too close. Why are we, no, we can't be choosing an individual who reflects such gross abandon of just common sense, not even like anything beyond a discussion otherwise, just beyond common sense, people. Even if you don't like Kamala, even if you don't like Biden, it's like, what? We can't do that. It's so concerning. In fact, it's disconcerting, right? It's very, very concerning. And basically, even during that time, back in 1868, and we're in 2021, only 28 states agreed to ratify the 14th Amendment, which was basically the linchpin, or the underpinning of saying that every person born here is a citizen with rights constitutionally driven, friends. And so we've got this same persisting for years and centuries later, where we still have an outcome that is near equally weighted that one side of America deems this viewpoint and the other side is completely opposite. Opposite enough to be willing to vote. Because in my opinion, when I vote, I am a mathematical thinker. So I do a a benefit cost analysis, if you will, since I am an economist, right? And so it's like, okay, so if it's 75%, much like you would do a quorum, okay, for parliamentary procedure or legislative procedure, basically a majority vote, at least three-fourths or what, right? Okay. So you're like, wait. Now this is cuckoo crazy, or 2/3, right? 2/3 vote is what most people know. Okay. So if I have 2/3 of my mind is in agreement with Biden, then I'm not going to vote for Trump. And I know that that may not be how everyone else is voting, but we can kind of safely assume that generally this is how we all think, okay, because I'm hoping that you're not just voting on one topic for a particular politician, not at the presidential level, not mayoral, not governor, not county commissioners. I would hope that that's not what you're doing. I hope you're not voting because they believe the same thing you do about one topic, but everything else, you two are in disagreement, and you say, oh, well, because they agree with that, I'm voting for them. That makes no sense. I hope you're not doing that. Please understand that I'm not trying to overjudge you, but we got to get this, we got to get this worked out, because it's not where we need it to be. Okay, so let's go to the members. And you'll see just how easily this is accessible. I didn't need a membership to get in. These are your laws. You'll see the sessions when they change or amend. They actually have to publicize that and give citizens an opportunity to contest it or give information to help the legislators make a better, make their decision on ratifying, amending, or repealing. Repealing means to take away, right? Okay, so, and then you have delegates, you have the committees. This is how you'll know what committees are, like housing, you see this, studies and commissions, citizens involvement, House subcommittees, Senate subcommittees. There you go, okay? You can go there. All right, we're going to go to the members. So let's go back. Okay, members. And then right here, you have the House members listing. So we're going to go through that really quickly. All right. And again, all we're doing is we're going through all the Ds, which represent Democrat, of course, and then the Rs, which represent Republican. Let me hop back over here and see if anybody has asked me a question. Okay, I don't see any questions. All right. Okay. I'll look again. I'll keep checking back. Okay, so let's see. Now, some of the sites, as we go through this, they are more user-friendly. They are organized a little bit better. They have pictures readily available right on the first page. So you see all the information on one page. That, of course, is generally up to, because that's kind of like house rules, if you will, not so much as house as in House and Senate, just kind of like local rules of procedure for each state, okay? And they may just have it, set up this way. This one is not set up the best. I do prefer to see the pictures as well, for obvious reasons. Yes, I do want to see if they share my hue. I do want to see, I am a visual person. Most of us are. I want to see them. I don't want to just have their names. I want to put a name with a face and all that stuff, right? Okay. And we need to be able to do this because also we need to change the look of our current legislature, which is primarily Caucasian men. I'm not saying that all those Caucasian men, as I've already alluded to before, not all of those Caucasian men are bad guys. There are some of them there that I voted for and I would vote for again, okay? And then there are some that I did not vote for and I would adamantly and vehemently reject. And they should, some of them should even be in jail. Okay, all right. But, all right, here we go. So I've got my handy little paper here. We're gonna go through it really quickly. And basically all I'm doing in this case is going to be a little bit trickier, but we're going to work it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and just jot down all of the D's. I'm going to do, you know, just like the scoring method, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slash, right? And then we'll come back up and we'll do a count, a tally of the Republicans, and then, you know, weigh it out. Okay. And let's see, they might have pictures. Probably if we click on, yep. So if you click on these, you can have the pictures, has district description, shows the committees that they're on, any legislation that they have proposed. This is very important when considering who to vote for. So also in this process, not only am I hoping to inspire everyone to say, yeah, I'm on board. We need to change this Constitution. We need to change it just like the forefathers put in the Constitution, that every so many years that it needs to be updated to reflect the new consensus of the people. And boom, all right? But also, I want you to be able to be even more informed than you are now as it relates to when it is time to vote in the primaries, which are super, super, super duper, super duper, 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 super duper, 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 super important. Okay. All right. And then vote in the general election. Okay. Paramount that you do this. Some of the individuals that you are like, oh, I'm looking at them. I really rock with that person. If you don't vote for them in the primary, that's it. That's it for them. They don't move forward. That's the purpose of the primary. Now, some people believe that the primary was established for corrupt reasons. I have my concerns equally. Of course, we know that even if it wasn't intended to be corruptly used, it is being corruptly used now. So it's very important that you vote in the primaries, people. Okay. All right. So here we go. So this is how you can look and find out, if this is a person that has proposed a bill to restrict the rights of voters, okay? Or if this is someone who has, if you're pro-abortion and they have legislation that is anti-abortion, this is how you can find that as well. And I mean, if they have proposed legislation, you see what I mean? Okay. And you can also get their voting record as well. We'll go over that as well. Okay, here we go. Woo, so much, friends, so much in one little hour. Trust and believe, so much. But we have to do this. And I am committed to this. I'm committed to this. Please understand. All right, so, okay, we got 1 Democrat, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is our Jeffrey Bourne, and we're going up. All right. Then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is Carrie Delaney. We'll start there. And of course, I'm not calling out these names for any particular emphasis. They're just where I fall, when it's time to scroll up. That's it. All right, keep it simple. All right, so 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Stopping at Charneil Herring. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Stopping at Mark Levine. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Stopping at Kenneth Plum. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Stopping at Shelley Simmons, 45. All right, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Stopping at Vivian Wyatt. All right, so, and there's two more. So that's 55, okay? That's 55 Dems, Democrats, right? Dems in the House. I don't know all of their districts, so we're just going to count it out again. All right. And there is no expectation that you have some type of, like, you're not going to memorize all this. This is not what this is for. You just need to know where to go to get accurate, verifiable information. That's it. That's it. Okay. All right. So we're going to start again with the Republicans. It almost looks like it's Democratic, a Democratic majority, but we'll see. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At Emily. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. At Matthew. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. At Hodges. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. At Marshall. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. At Ransone. 36, 37, 38. 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46 at Scott. So yeah, so there's 46 Republicans in the House and 55 Dems in the House. This is, each state generally has proven my hypothesis and my theories as it relates to, and they're not really, well, it is a theory where I have no knowledge of whether or not it's been researched and there are writings in a journal article or scholarly reviews of it. I will look it up because this is very interesting that everything that I keep finding, the history of the voting record, the history of the makeup of the House and Senate for each state is generally half and half. And, it seems like it's been this ongoing fight, of course, for Democrats to get majority in whatever facet of the legislature so that we can affect the change that we generally want to see. But this is very still yet disconcerting. Okay, so that's, and we got to quickly go. So this is the House. Let's go here. Ooh. We go to the Senate. And just a quick look, it equally looks like it is just about neck and neck. You've got, and it looks like they're doing the same thing. You can click on them which is very interesting because it looks like the Senate website is almost managed, or at the very least has been designed, which is an indication that it's also being managed by a separate, maybe web designer. As you know, what we saw on the House side. I don't necessarily say I'm taking issue with it. I'm just noticing different things. I like to make mental files of everything that could be relevant. You know, you store it away. You don't have to make a big deal out of it, but you just store it away. It is good to be observant. You all know that. All right, let me check and see if anyone has written to me so I can answer any questions. All right, I don't see anything. I see you're with me, but if you want to say something, you're more than welcome. Please do. Please do not feel that you cannot share your thoughts. Okay. So as you see, you can also just click on their names. There are hyperlinks for those. And you can identify, you know, some of us who are visual, you really want to get to know your, you know, those who are representing us. And that's what we should be doing, because it's gotten out of hand. A lot of times people are not even familiar with who their officials are. They don't know how to get in contact with them. You see that there are telephone numbers for them. Oftentimes the email address, let's go back, let's see, should be the email address listed for him as well. That's part of the transparency intended, even though some of them may not answer their emails or they may find other evasive tactics. This is how it should be. This is someone, he's actually from Louisville, not from Virginia at all. I'm glad we saw that as well, because I want you to understand that there is no law that says that you cannot run for office in a state that is not your original place of birth, okay? For instance, myself, I live in Charlotte now and I'm running, you know, I've run for office. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. You can do this from state to state as well. Hence, you know, he was born in Louisville. He is now a senator in Virginia. Please, we want to take away this veil of this political class and all these myths that go along with what the qualifications are to run for office. Oftentimes the qualifications only include age and that you are a current resident of that state, that city, or of course, where it's relevant, the district for which you run. So he would need to reside in District 13 in order to run for office for District 13. However, for offices like mayor or city council at large, school board at large, you needn't reside in a specific district, because you are going to be representing the metropolis at large, right? All of y'all, all y'all. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so we see that is pretty much the same. A quick browse, and you can see that it looks like there is a Democratic majority, but it still looks about neck and neck, the same as with the House. All right, this is a problem that plagues our nation, because politics are so bipartisan. And that's why I'm a proponent for nonpartisan, so that there is not this fight, you know, against, you know, one side versus the other side. And then of course, one side is always, you know, because it's that whole kind of epic fight between good and evil. And, you know, we ascribe these characteristics to the parties, but it's just not a catch-all. And I feel like it just fuels contentions, and it doesn't help us with bipartisan relations. And it just makes for a very, very disturbing landscape of individuals who are making decisions on behalf of the people. All right, so now let's go back, because I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I said. Okay, so we said we were going to go over the How many Democrats serve in Virginia Legislature? 15 more legislatures in Washington, D.C. So we're going to hop on over there real quick. The Preamble and Bill of Rights, we discussed that very briefly. And again, I had to spend some time today to kind of go over who I am and what this format is about and how we're gonna, interact with one another, all the play-by-play, if you will. So I will go ahead and touch upon number 3 and 4. Yeah, I'll do it. I can do it very quickly. And this should go to about 5:30, and then we'll be done with this so that we don't have to catch up next week. Since I spent about 30 minutes kind of getting all the house rules, our local way to interact with one another, our local rules of procedure taken care of. Okay, so now let's hop over to the 15 more legislators in Washington, D.C. All right, so very simply, you just type in Congress. Okay. All right. Senate, House of Representatives, right? Okay. Of course, they're not in session right now. Move this down. Over here is members. That's what I was looking for. Okay, and we're going to click on that. All right, so if you know a person by name and you're looking for them, for instance, Alma Adams, of course, for North Carolina, District 12. You can click right on. She is one of the longstanding, widely trusted, highly impactful legislators. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word today. Okay. And of course, they provide their email address. She's very transparent. She's very out in the community. She does coffee, all types of things. Of course, before the pandemic, she now does a virtual coffee. You need to make sure that you interact with them. They're not gods. Most of them do not. The ones who are not detached from reality, they know they're not gods, and they come. They want to hear what they want to know who you are and hear what you have to say, so they can be your biggest defender, your biggest proponent for the things that we want to see changed or the things that we need changed for the areas that we live in respectively. Okay, so you can do it over here, right? You can find a senator. All right, here we go. We'll go there. Amy Klobuchar, here we go, right? You can go to her website, all those good things. You have email addresses. Her assistants are normally listed as well. You can get alerts. Boom, 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 sign in. You can create an account. They want, generally, the right side of justice generally prevails with our governing bodies, okay? Even if it's by the hair of their chinny chin chin, as we're basically seeing that, okay? And that's why, a 55 to 46, 55 is considered a resounding win, even though it's not. To me, it just, what it indicates is just still yet a pressing concern that needs to be addressed. But they generally want you to be engaged, okay? All right, so then let's go over here. Let's grab 15. All right, so let's go here. Let's go to representatives. They're all listed, and they're listed by state. We did North Carolina, we did South Carolina. Today we're doing Virginia, okay? So let's go. I believe it's by, yeah, alphabetical order. So now we're here in Virginia. Okay, here we go. So I went into the House of Representatives. If you'll look here on my screen there, I'm giving you the highlight. Okay, so let's see for Virginia whether or not it's a Democratic majority or a Republican. Okay, and again, the reason why we're doing this is because we need to understand what's going on in each of our states. We do need more knowledge. This is, of course, this is not going to be sufficient to figure out if the state itself, by its legislature, is on the right side of justice or on the wrong side of justice. But this is how we start the process. We've got to start somewhere, and this is where we start. Okay. If you have information about any of these legislators, I think that's the issue because I'm saying legislature and legislator, right? All right. So if you have any information about any of these if you have any information about these legislators, please do share that information in the comments or share it with me in an email, evolve@ctigressrun.com. One more time, evolve@ctigressrun. I believe in evolution. I also believe in secession, scientific secession, not business secession. We shall grow forward, people. Let's do this. All right. So for Virginia, we're going to do Republicans first, okay? Nobody gets upset. We switcheroo. And even if they did, look, come find now. Again, I'm not trying to cause division. All right, here we go. But I will, don't get it twisted. I will call out what needs to be called out. Okay. All right. So Republican, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 Republicans and the rest Democrat. So we have a Democrat majority in Virginia for the House, right? All right. So then let's go hop on over to the Senate. Yeah. Senators. Okay. Choose a state. Virginia. Okay. And of course, we know that the senators are normally going to be less for each state, right? Okay. And we have 2 senators, and they are both Democrats. Okay, now this is something very interesting to me. I don't think I'm familiar with the Class 1 and Class 2. This is something, so let's check this out. Because they have different terms for class. Oh, okay. Because they have where you have the number for the administration, like the 116th and 117th Congress. I've heard some of them also referred to as class. Now, I don't know if the person was using it correctly. I'll look into it. We'll check that out. I'll give you some clarity the next time so that we don't lose any further time here because we got to go over the Bill of Rights really quickly. And then I wanted to touch upon this because I've got some suggested viewing, and I hope you do take my suggestions to heed outside of this forum. I will be suggesting reading podcasts because I know that some of us learn differently. Some of us really like, the audiobook. Some of us, we need to visit a place. Some of us need to watch a video. Some of us need to read a book, So I'm going to suggest different medium. And we'll get to that in a second, but it's very important, and it's in the regard of the Preamble and Bill of Rights in our modernized Constitution, right? Okay, so this just means, of course, for the purpose of elections, that they're designated into these 3 classes. It's a 6-year term or a 2-year term. And you've heard of special elections, like if someone were to unfortunately pass or for whatever reason be deemed unfit or otherwise incompetent to serve, then there would be an appointment, or there would be a special election to fill that seat. All right, so now we know what they mean by class, and it looks like class 1, 2025, class 2, 2027. So these individuals, respectively, Tim Kaine will be in office until 2025, and Mark Warner, and we know who he is, don't we? He will be in office until 2027. I believe I know who Mark Warner is. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, Mark Warner. Okay. And as you see, it takes us to their site, so you can go to their individual sites, pull up their information. You can see what committees they're on. Just, it tells you all types of things, okay? He's on taxation and IRS oversight, international trade, customs and global competitiveness, healthcare, financial institutions and consumer protection. These are all very important. So let's say you got a problem and maybe the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau is not handling your complaint as they should. In Virginia, you could reach out to Mark Warner and you can express your concerns to him. You could also reach out to your attorney general, just a number of things. But anyway, so this should provide, good information on resources, to find the information that we need to figure out who do we want to keep in office and who needs a pink slip. This is pretty much what we're doing here, okay? All right, and we're trying to get ahead as well and then monitor. So not only get ahead of knowing who's proposing what type of legislation and why, like, are they doing this? We can monitor legislation that is proposed by legislators, and we can decipher whether or not they are driven corruptly, by some type of corrupt constituency, or if they are really on the right side of justice and they're doing things that we really need done. And then we say, yeah, we need to keep them in office. Otherwise, we say, no, musical chairs, start the music, cue the music, get on up. All right, so let's go, boom, 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 to the next. Let me get over here. Okay, so now we have covered how many Democrats serve in the Virginia Legislature, 15 more legislators in Washington, D.C. And I shouldn't have said 15 more. I've been saying 15. We've actually, I came up with a better approach state by state. So I will change that. And so it's just about 15 of them each time. So I believe that's why that number is still kind of floating around. But I'll just say, the next state. So the next state we'll be going over is Kentucky, okay? All right, then Preamble and Bill of Rights, and then how to draft a bill and training and workshops, and then we're done. 20 minutes, we can do this, boom, boom, boom. Let's go over to Preamble and Bill of Rights. I'm also hopeful that I simplify. For those of you who feel like, oh, this stuff is just way over my head, I'm not interested. I hope that you find my approach approachable and very laid back and realistic and non-pompous and no touting, no high academic text or subject matter, just straightforward. Like, because really at the end of the day, and because you all can do words, you can do words. We can pull out a dictionary, we can Google words. But this just understanding just basal stuff, like how do I find out who my legislator is? And how do I find out what committees they're on? And how do I find out what legislation they are proposing? And how do I know when they're in session? Meaning, when are they, actively working on matters that the people want them to work on? This is how you do it. how can I keep in contact with them? Can I not, like create an account and get updates? All of these questions are being answered right now, and it is my absolute joy to do so. All right, so now we're going to go to Preamble. Well, we're in the Library of Congress, so let me see. Oh. Go back. Virginia. Congressional record, we want legislation. I saw one for legislation. Let's go back. Yeah, there we go. Legislation, right here. Boom, boom, boom. I guess I need to stop saying boom, 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 right? Hilarious. All right, so you'll see bills that have been introduced. On what basis? And they're supposed to provide them to us. You'll be able to determine all the actions. Refer to the House. You'll see the timeline, the dates, all this good stuff. This is information that we are privy to as citizens under this constitutional body of law and the subsidiary statutory law respective to each state. Okay. All right. So let's go to the preamble. We're going to go just a simple search. Preamble of the Constitution. Boom. As I've stated many, many times, you generally want to go where there is a designation for the government. Okay? So uscourts.gov. All right. The preamble sets the stage for the Constitution at archives.gov. It clearly communicates the intentions of the framers and the purpose of the document. The preamble is an introduction to the highest law of the land. It is not the law. It does not define government powers or individual rights. Now, the Constitution and the amendments, and again, the statutory law thereunder, as I just stated, that does, okay? You'll notice that the federal law is pretty much kind of the prevailing umbrella overview of how the country should be run and procedurally and all the other aspects important there too. And then each state has its respective body of laws that are consistent, because they have to be consistent. They can't contradict prevailing federal law. But there can be differences from state to state based on the unique characteristics of each state and its population and its land, okay? All right, so let's go to the Constitution. All righty. So cool. All right, so initially back in 1868, the amendments or the Bill of Rights was considered to be amendments 1 through 8. Okay, so now the Bill of Rights includes amendments 1 through 10, and then you have the other amendments, okay? So the preamble, which is very, very straightforward. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, future generations, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. This was effectually incorporation, okay? I am saying it with the intent of the tone I just used. So there is, for some of you, and equally for me at times, you know, if it is mismanaged, there is a negative connotation that comes along with the United States being run like a commercial corporation. And that's why it's important that we do get involved in politics so that it is not, and that we become the pulse of the Constitution, and that we keep it ethically driven as opposed to just merely commercially driven. And there's nothing necessarily holistically evil about the Constitution and commercial activity, but you have to know to what extent to enforce commerce juxtapose thinking about people. And we need people who are in office who are not detached from reality and who think about people, okay? Because they're not there for them. They are there to represent people, hence the words of the Constitution. Now, that was just a preamble. I'm going to do this too, just really quickly. Let's find out. I know what it is, but let's just find out. What is a preamble? Simple definition. It's an introductory statement, right? Introductory fact or circumstance, one indicating what is to follow, right? Okay. Now, this is the basis from which I derive a more perfect union. It can be interpreted in this way as well, that, and this gets a little scary for some of you all, because the law is open for interpretation. Hence, you have so many different opinions. Some of you have heard this word in court cases, or in maybe your own court cases, or those of you who know someone who's been in one or read them, or if you're in law school. Judges can opine, which is the verb tense of opinion. They can decide based on all the information given to them during a case to make their opinions known, right? And their opinions are important to the interpretation collectively over time amongst judges, and they are used to argue against the case or for a case. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is to say this. Let's go back. The cat is just hilarious, right? Okay, so let's go back. Okay. The preamble is just this introductory statement, but it's letting you know that a person wrote it. A person or persons came together. They weren't gods. They weren't, to the best of our knowledge, they were not aliens of a higher power. And they, number one, we know that they colonized America. They were not the original dwellers. We know that to be the Native Americans. We know that they just basically took over and said, hey, we're going to write this Constitution. And it's going to be the fabric of how we govern what we're going to call the United States of America. So they came together, directors and shareholders of a legal entity, which is separate from themselves, a corporation. And they run it more like a C Corp as opposed to a shareholder corporation. And they said, okay, this is going to be the introductory statement on the contract that we have with everyone, or our bylaws that we're going to write as directors, the governing body of the corporation. And then we're going to bind anyone who wishes to be an employee to these terms. You see how you have the connection there to the formation of a corporation, the formation and operation of it, right? So in that same interpretation aspect, literally, we could write our own Constitution because, and who was it? Oh, goodness. Hold on. I believe it was, but I'm not sure. I want to make sure that I get it right. I'm hopping everywhere. Okay. So yeah, it was George Washington who made the who made the proclamation of sorts that you know, our founding fathers created the Constitution, but hold on one second. Maybe it was Abraham Lincoln. Hold on one second. I think I might have it wrong. That just came up, popped up too. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this speech has its origins in the back room of a store, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fellow citizens of the United States, in compliance with a custom as old as the government itself, I appear before you to address you briefly and to take in your presence the oath prescribed by the Constitution of the United States to be taken by the president before he enters on the execution of this office. I want to get further down into it. Hold on one second. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to, and I will leave this link. I just wanted to quickly read down to make sure I was referencing the correct speech, and I'll read through it very quickly, and then we'll move forward. And this is the reference that I wanted to make that was very important for this this session. We'll come down here, and again, I'm going to read pretty quickly through it. It is 72 years since the first inauguration of a president under our national constitution. During that period, 15 different and greatly distinguished citizens have in succession administered the executive branch of the government. They have conducted it through many perils and generally with great success. Yet with all this scope of precedent, I now enter upon the same task for the brief constitutional term of 4 years. Under great and peculiar difficulty, a disruption of the federal union, heretofore only menaced, is now formidably attempted. Again, remember when he was in office, you had the heightened debate on, you know, to have slaves or to abolish slavery, right? And he initially, as we all now know, you should know, that he was not on the right side of justice. In fact, he brought African-American leaders in and talked to them in a very despicable way and told them, or well, he was very matter of fact, but it was despicable what he was talking about. That he was like, hey, how about we just find you another place to live? I think that'll work. Okay, anyway, so let's keep on going real quick. I hold that in contemplation of universal law and of the Constitution and the union of these states is perpetual. Perpetuity is implied, if not expressed, in the fundamental law of all national governments. It is safe to assert that no government proper ever had a provision in its organic law for its own termination. Continue to execute all the express provisions of our national constitution, and the union will endure forever, it being impossible to destroy it except by some action not provided for in the instrument itself. Okay, all right. Again, if the United States be not a government proper, but an association of states in the nature of a contract merely, can it, as a contract, be peaceably unmade by less than all the parties who made it? One party to a contract may violate it, break it, so to speak, but does it not require all to lawfully rescind it? So this, and they spoke a lot about this. So there was a lot of contentions, probably even more so than we will ever know, back in that time, because they realized themselves that it was just unilaterally drafted as, okay, this is what we're doing. And it was done very similar to the formation of a corporation. And they did this all around the world, hence the term colonization. That's what it was in a nutshell. And that's what I'm sharing with you right now. I think I'm going to, let me check one more time and see if I see anybody. I see no comments. Let me know if you have any. This is what I'm getting at, people, okay? John Bingham, on the inspiration of Frederick Douglass and probably many others that we will never learn their names, beautiful African-American or African slaves who fought for their own freedom, fought for their rights. John Bingham, being a congressman of Ohio, he sought out to ratify the 14th Amendment and to overturn that grossly egregious decision against Dred Scott, that he didn't even have the right to bring forth a lawsuit, let alone to contest whether or not he had citizenship and freedom and liberation from his owner. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go on to the drafting a bill. Give me 1 second. I'm going to have to look it up offline because for confidentiality sake, just give me 1 second. Because I'm looking at an email. So on campus email, pull it up. Talk amongst yourselves. Give me 1 second. Leave a comment as well. Yes. I hope you have enjoyed this. I really do. This is like, it's good stuff for me. Hold on 1 second. I think I got it. I thought it was so funny that I couldn't find it the last time. I hate that. So let me just affirm while I'm looking this up. Anyone can write a bill. Anyone can write legislation. Anyone can lobby for that bill and legislation. Now you will need ideally the support of at least one current legislator to assist in the introduction of that bill and the promotion of that bill to, to the end of ratification, right? But you do not need that in order to write the bill. Okay, I don't know why I'm not finding it. Just hold on 1 second, because it's a course. They have them everywhere, and we're going to find it. Workshop, how to write a bill. All right, so there we go. Princeton Model Congress, right here. Okay, and we're going to save this so that I don't lose it. Let's put it here. All right, so Princeton Model Congress, they actually have conference, and they have a conference schedule. And if I'm not mistaken, you needn't be a student of an institution or still a student in high school or otherwise to be able to attend and participate. And they teach you, and look, they have a preamble as well, because that's just pretty much bylaws. Like I told you, the formation of a separate entity in commerce, if you will. Okay. And they have different examples. You can just use this and draft. We're just going to save it anywhere. And then it'll pull up. And there you have it. And then here's just the template. You can use existing legislation to kind of, as an example on how to fill it in exactly. Let's come out of this. And they have a conference schedule. And of course, now they're doing it virtually. It's something that I'm very, very interested in. And this is really cool because they're doing it November 13th. Well, that was last year. So that was 2020. It looks like they haven't posted the schedule, and there it is, goodness. The deadline for bill submissions has been extended. Okay. They haven't posted it for 2021, but usually you see this, it's like a 2-day conference, if you will, and there you are. You can learn how to effectively write a bill and get yourself sufficiently connected in that regard. Let's see, registration for virtual PMC, of course, is closed. We're looking forward to welcoming everyone who signed up in November. That was last session. Let's see, deadlines and fees. Let's see what they have here. Of course, that's all for 2020. I don't believe that this is limited. I'm trying to see if it's limited to, let's see, students applying to special programs must still submit a committee bill by November 9th as well. This may be limited to, let me just check, overview, I can't remember. Of course, I'm a student. So let's see, the history, Princeton Model Congress is the oldest model Congress in America. Its inaugural conference took place in 1982. Our structure, they have 4 distinct congresses, red, white, blue, and orange. Each of these congresses encompasses 6 Senate committees and 6 House of Representative committees. Bills that pass and committee sessions are brought before full sessions. Of course, they use Robert Rules of Order. Some of you are already familiar with the fact that that's like my love language. I was a parliamentarian for most of the organizations for which I served in high school and college. Let's see. Yeah, I thought I would be able to identify who can attend. It doesn't really say. All right, mission, let's see if mission. Okay, so yes, strives to educate students in the workings of the American government and to encourage their active involvement in the democratic process. To this end, we have developed a structure in which students from across the country can gather in the nation's capital to discuss pressing issues of the day, serving as delegates to our conference. High school students compose bills according to their interests. Students must do thorough research and think creatively about their proposed legislation to ensure well-formed, high-quality debate during individual House and Senate committees, as well as full congressional sessions. We strive to make the conference as realistic and educational as possible. Let's see, majority of our staff have excelled in speech and debate and have participated in model Congress conferences as high schoolers. Many are veteran staffers to this conference. Our seasoned staffers further foster an enriching and intellectually stimulating experience for each participant. All right, so they have these for let me stop sharing here. They have them for high school students and college students, and I believe they have them maybe just some nonprofits that do it as well for individuals who just want to learn more and get involved and you know, and have that information so that they can intelligently contribute to the reform of our legislature. Okay, so there you have it, people. In a nutshell, please go and check out Amend on Netflix. Amend, AMEND. It is, there is a link on my Facebook page, which is just See Tigress Run. In fact, all of my social media is See Tigress Run. And yeah, I've enjoyed the first episode. I will very likely, once I chill out, make me some hot tea, I will very likely continue watching a few episodes before I watch something else for the evening or chill out with my son before I make dinner. And it's weird, the thing gets to doing crazy stuff. Yeah, so during the first episode, ironically enough, they discussed what I shared with you weeks ago as it relates to the 3/5 clause that has been up for so much debate. I hope I gave you final and very definitive information as it relates to how African descendants, diasporan descendants were perceived, slaves were perceived during that time. The Dred Scott and versus Sanford and the Supreme Court decision on the same were pretty clear that the 3/5 clause was intentionally obfuscated or intentionally interpreted to subserve the racist mindset. Okay. All right. And the classist mindset to preserve slavery, right, for commerce. And not that it was just for electoral delegates. That's not what it was. It was definitely used in a corrupt fashion. Okay. All right. So check that out. They went over that. I'm glad that they did. I would like to think that they got that notion to go over the matter because of all of the debate, and hopefully maybe they saw my live session and were like, you know, the girl has a point. She's on par. We need to do this. We need to, but who knows? They probably maybe had nothing to do with me. That's kind of like the string theory notion that, you know, once you put an idea out into the world, you better move on it because it will touch another person eventually, you know, and they may run with it faster than you do. Anyway, so hey, however we can get this more perfect union accomplished, I'm all for it. So this has been the week 7 of a 52-week series on how to implement a more perfect union. And I am Tigress Sydney Acute McDaniel, your host of Evolve Weekly. Have a wonderful Sunday evening.